Okay, we were earlier we were talking about asbestos roofing. Okay, why I chose this spot is, as you can see, there's a house. That house has been extended. These guys could afford to put on a new roof because they extended the house. Okay, these guys extended partially. They have a zinc roof, corrugated roof, but what's above it? It's an asbestos roof. Asbestos. They try to patch it up maybe for leakage, but asbestos. You know, as we walk up in this community, in Jukskei Drive, right up Jukskei, from the bottom here, right up Jukskei, in extension, you'll just see asbestos roofing. You know, for those who could afford to replace their roofing, they did it because they could afford it. What about those who could not afford it? You know, what about old people? We have so many old people residing in this area, aged people, that is only dependent on the little pension they get. You know, and what will it cost a pensioner to replace a roof? You know, first of all, you have to replace the whole wood structure and then do your roofing. You know, I can take you from where we're standing here, the last point, right, straight up to zone 2, zone 3, Riverlea extension on the 8s, on the 9s and the 7s. Yes. On the other end of Colorado Drive is what we would call Riverlea proper. That is where decent houses were built, proper roofing was set up and everything. And for those who could afford to buy in those properties, moved out of these properties. Remember, Riverlea was built in such a way, it was your 1 rooms, your 2 rooms, you know. So if it were you and your lady, you were living in a 1 room. So when the family grew, you had 2 or 3 kids, they moved you, the council moved you to a bigger living space, you know, because you have kids, you need your privacy. And most of the residents who could then manage it, move from the extension area into these areas. Because why? At that time it was the council property. We had to pay rent on a monthly basis. You had to pay your water bills, your rates and taxes and everything. So of the residents on this side now, who could now afford now to buy in on the new houses, you know, the newly built houses, right? So these areas went vacant. Big, nice 2-bedroom homes with a separate lounge, a kitchen, a bathroom and a toilet inside. Okay, most of the residents in the extension areas, the toilets are on the outside. Okay, for those who could extend and extend their properties, managed to build bathrooms inside, you know, for the comfortability of the women and the children, you know, to have their own private toilet. But yes, that is how life started in Riverlea. And as I say, I will harp on a lot of things. You know, where we are standing now, we have rising water. You know, you've been in Joburg some time now. You've seen the rainfall. We're monitoring the rainfall since last year, heavy rainfall. So going to all these open shafts and foxholes that Zamas dig. These tunnels are filling up slowly but surely. These waters underneath now becomes acidic. And now it's going to start eating away at these tunnels. Eventually these tunnels are going to collapse. What will the next best thing be? 2 things, major catastrophes that can happen. Is in an area like this, you'll find water seeping out of the ground. Where's this water coming from? Because why? This water has to escape. This water has to go. So what? Water will find a way out, no matter how or where it is. It will lift eventually if these waters aren't regularly pumped. Okay? They have pumping stations where they're supposed to pump and extract this water from the tunnels into paddocks for drying purposes. These waters should actually be cleaned or purified in a manner for industrial use or such, but maybe not for human consumption. But yes, it could be used in mining companies. Mining companies can use these waters to keep their areas regularly watered. Also for the dust suppression, you know, and that's one point. The other point will be major sinkholes. I mean, today the area is fine, tomorrow's a major sinkhole. That's also one fear that we are also living with, you know. When does one area just cave in, you know? And the main question now would be, who is taking responsibility, right? Already now, right? The departments and the parties that has to take responsibility and is responsible for what we are talking about and for all our troubleshooting in this community. It's a finger pointing game. The only time they will wake up or realize that something is wrong, if we have something that happens, like for example in Bree Street, half of Bree Street was lifted up, it drew attention. So there you could see departments, then only we knew that this department, that department, then you'll find everybody, the same story, funding. Here's a gas line. We would actually like Cecil Gas to come and remove these gas lines here and take it to a more, or run it around Riverlea to a more safer, to more safer areas. Let me put it that way, you know, where if anything should go wrong, the community won't be affected. I mean, we are talking about loss of property, we're talking about life loss, we're talking about injury, we're talking about infrastructures being damaged. Already, look at the street. The streets from Colorado Drive right out, okay? This cracking is actually because when they removed 3L2 mine dune, the same size as Mooifontein, during removing it, these heavy trucks used to cut all the soil in and out. It was for a few years, you know, it was a madhouse, right? These cracks, similar. I mean, asking the question, who fixes up these roads and streets? It was told that no, JRA, roads belong to JRA, they will do it. So the question now comes is, did the mining companies then give the funding to JRA to retar these roads once they are finished with the projects? What happened there? We also still need to know that. The gas lines, we need to know, can they be relocated? Does it pose a danger? As you can see, the lack of maintenance. This has been done about 2 years ago. They haven't got in here. So Cecil Gas will tell you, we only clean a meter from the signal and a meter from the signal. That is where their pipeline is. The rest of it, COJ must clean. On that end, they will tell you that that is private sector. On that end, they will tell you, no, PRASA must clean there. So it's a whole finger pointing game at the end of the day. You know, we've engaged PRASA regarding this mess. They haven't come back to us. They don't want to share details, contact numbers, email addresses. So we then rather going to have to take this to higher authority, and then get, you know, get solutions to these problems, you know, and the accountability. You know, we need these responsible parties who are to fulfill their accountability. I mean, they are getting paid for a job. Why don't they do the job? Simple as that.